as already discussed in the lecture on clinico-social case format. The case information can be taken completely if we take the information about the case in the following 6 broad headings. First is identification, data of the case and family structure. Second, clinical history and examination of the index case. Then family health and housing environment. Then making the clinico-social diagnosis, effect of the illness on the family and the suggested management. Out of these, the details regarding the identification and family data and family health and housing environment details have already been discussed in a clinico-social case format lecture and blog, and hence here we will only discuss the remaining 4 headings which are specific to a geriatric case. So medical history and examination of a geriatric case is conducted under the following headings: history, presenting complaint, history of present complaint, past history, known case of any illness, personal history, family history, dietary history. If the given case is a female, then menstrual history, obstetric history, and if relevant, then immunization history. In addition to this, questions are also asked to assess the functional status of the elderly. We will discuss these in a little more detail in the following slides. The examination is as any other examination: general physical examination, systemic examination, making a provisional diagnosis, and assessing the patient's attitude towards his or her illness. So whenever we take history for any case, including elderly case, we need to know the health problems which are more common in that case. So we need to know health problems more commonly found in the elderly, so that we can ask questions to rule these out in our history taking. So these are health problems due to aging process as such, and chronic diseases which are present in other age groups as well but are more prevalent in the elderly. The problems due to aging process per se: senile cataract, glaucoma, nerve deafness, osteoporosis, emphysema, failure of special senses, changes in mental outlook, and others. Then chronic diseases: atherosclerosis leading to hypertension and myocardial infarction, cancer, accidents leading to fracture, especially hip fracture, diabetes mellitus, etc. The locomotor system disorders are more common in the elderly, and these include osteoarthritis, rheumatoid arthritis, fibromyositis, myositis, neuritis, spondylitis of the spine, etc. Respiratory illness is more common in the elderly: chronic bronchitis, asthma, emphysema. The genitourinary system, benign prostatic hyperplasia, uterine prolapse are common in elderly. In addition, psychological problems are also common, like mental changes, impaired memory, rigid outlook, dislike of change, reduced income, sexual maladjustment, and other emotional disorders. So, the history should include questions to rule out the symptoms suggestive of the above. And similarly, the clinical examination should include looking for signs which suggestive of above. So history questions can fall under various sections. Some may fall under history of present illness, some under past history, others may fall under personal history. As long as the information is complete, you can include the information in these headings, under whichever heading. So now we will discuss in detail the history, general physical examination and systemic examination while taking the geriatric clinico-social case. While taking the history and doing the examination in an elderly case, we need to remember that an elderly may have multiple disorders, and that the early detection of a disorder or a complication of a disorder will lead to an early intervention, which in turn will improve the quality of life of these elderly cases. And very often we need relatively minor and inexpensive interventions for achieving this. For example, simple lifestyle changes. So the history and physical examination of an elderly should screen for the disorders that occur commonly in this age group. We have already discussed this disorder previously. The management for the elderly patient has to take into account the social handicap as well. For example, the case may be living all alone, have no support system, may not have enough resources to implement the management suggested. Hence, there is a need to identify the caregivers and the support system while taking the history so that the management can be accordingly suggested. WHO says that the assessment of the elderly should include the following 4 points. First, assessing the health by history and examination complete. Second, we have to perform a comprehensive functional assessment, that is, how functional is the elderly in day-to-day life. Then performing a comprehensive physical examination. And finally, assess the relationship between the acute illness with which the elderly has presented and the known chronic illnesses that already are diagnosed in the case. In addition, in a clinico-social case, we need to assess the strengths and weaknesses of the caregiving system of the elderly in question. Now, history taking of a geriatric case. Preferably, you should talk to the elderly case alone, so that he or she has the freedom to talk about the social problems as well. But on the other hand, you may need to talk with the relative or the caregiver separately for additional information and for their viewpoint on the functional and mental status of the case that has been allotted to you. The first, identification and family data, has already been explained in the lecture as well as blog on format for clinico-social case taking. The presenting complaints and history of present illness. Sometimes the elderly may not have any presenting complaints because the elderly may consider them as a part of natural aging. For example, dyspnea, hearing loss, vision loss, urinary incontinence, constipation, falls, dizziness. So this is normal aging, so they will not say that we have any problem. But as far as we are concerned, no symptom should be attributed to just normal aging unless a thorough evaluation has been done and possible causes have been ruled out. Sometimes there may be no presenting complaints, but when you ask as about the functional capability, then the presenting complaint may emerge. For example, an elderly may not report joint pain or joint swelling or joint stiffness, but if you ask about change in activities or are you able to go for walk, they may report that they no longer go out for walk because the knees hurt. In addition to the presenting complaints, you should ask questions specifically to check for the disorders which are frequently affecting the elderly, because some of the presenting complaints may emerge when you ask such questions, because the elderly may have forgotten to mention these presenting complaints. So in this regard, the list mentioned at the outset may be of help. So specific questions can be asked like dysuria, nocturia, frequency of pituitation, hearing loss, breathlessness, orthopnea, changes in vision, polyuria, polydipsia, weight loss, then symptoms suggestive of cancers like hemoptysis and peripheral neuropathies, abnormal sensations in any limb. And WHO says that the 4 geriatric giant problems should always be assessed, and these are memory loss, depression, urinary incontinence, falls, or restricted mobility. When a PG student is presenting the elderly case, we suggest that he or she should use the WHO age-friendly primary healthcare tool 1 for this comprehensive screening for these 4 geriatric giants. Then the history of past illness again should include all the disorders that commonly occur in the elderly and which he or she may have forgotten to mention. Then any known case of illness, because at this age one or more disorder may already be diagnosed and on treatment. Duration of such diagnosis, treatment taken for the known case and from where, is the compliance present for treatment or not? If not, then why not? Personal history would include bladder, any history of stress incontinence, history suggestive of uterine prolapse, budding maturation, etc. Bowel, any changes in the previous bowel habits, blood in stool, question about smoking, alcohol, exercise, diet. Menstrual history if the given case is a female. Obstetric history too if the given case is a female. Then contraception use, what did they use in their time? And when we are doing the family study, we, in addition to this, we will ask them about the contraception used by all the eligible couples in the family, present in the family, that is identified, that is covered under the clinical social case format. But in this elderly case as well, because population is a big problem for our country, and hence especially if you observe any unusual thing like a gap of 20 years between two siblings, so especially then you can ask whether this gap has naturally happened or did they use anything. So contraception use. Then history to assess the functional status of the elderly. So you assess the mental status and the ability to function independently. And then you report to the examiner the elderly as independent or needs some assistance or totally dependent. A PG student is expected to fill out standard scales for assessing the functional status, and these are activities of daily life and instrumental activity of daily life scales. Scoring system is applied, and then according to the score they can classify as whether the elderly is independent, needs assistance or dependent. Then any circumstance or which may contribute to depression should also be asked in the history, like recent loss of a loved one or a change in residence or any change in living situation should also be specifically asked. Social history should include interpersonal relationship with other members of the family, whether the elderly is economically dependent or independent, do the family members take care of him, especially during illness, is the elderly socially active, are they aware of the social service schemes for elderly, are they availing in the social service scheme for elderly, if not then why not. So for asking this question, the student is expected to know about the services and schemes for the elderly at that time in the area, so that he can ask whether you take benefit from this or not. Are you aware of this scheme or not? The general physical examination is to be carried out as it is carried out in any case, in any, even on the pure clinical side. We will here discuss about the special things that you will look for in a geriatric case. So general appearance you will mention, then the vitals. The respiratory rate is normally a little higher in the elderly, so the cutoff range is agreed on to be 24 breath per minute. Pulse, the pulse should be felt in all the limbs and all the peripheral pulses should be felt, so because of the changes due to arteriosclerosis. Blood pressure, all the elderly patients should also be assessed for orthostatic hypotension in addition to simple blood pressure, because orthostatic hypotension is common in this age group and can lead to falls. How is this done? The blood pressure is first measured with the patient in supine position. Then ask the patient to stand up slowly and keep standing for 3 to 5 minutes, and then take BB again. If the systolic blood pressure falls by 20 or more than 20 millimeter of mercury after the patient's stand, or any symptom of hypotension is detected, orthostatic hypotension is diagnosed. Caution should be required because you should be ready to catch if elderly falls during this exercise. Then temperature, anthropometry, examine the skin. You may find ecchymosis naturally present because they readily appear by any minor trauma, because the dermis is thin. It thins out with age, and most commonly these ecchymosis are seen on the forearm. Other normal age-related findings are longitudinal ridges on the nails. Remember, longitudinal. All transverse ridges have something abnormal to represent. Then loss of the crescent-shaped lunula of the nail. Look for any size. Then pallor, icterus, cyanosis, clubbing, lymphadenopathy and edema, like any other case. If pedal edema is found, it is mostly due to venous insufficiency, that is the venous valves insufficiency. But still, if pedal edema is there, we should go back to history and examination to rule out any other signs and symptoms of heart failure. Then examination of the eyes, conjunctival foreign body, cataract, pseudoptosis, that is decreasing in the palpebral aperture, entropion, ectropion, arcus senilis, we will often find in the elderly patient. Whether the pupils are symmetrical and reactive to light. You must test the visual acuity. Both near and distance vision should be tested. If the student is carrying a Snellen's chart, very well. Otherwise, finger counting at 3 and 6 meters should be done, as well as the vision should be tested for reading or other near work. Look for glaucoma using the hand method for intraocular tension. Test the extraocular movements. Some previous stroke may have affected them. Ideally, the student should carry an ophthalmoscope to check for cataract, optic nerve degeneration, macular degeneration, any evidence of glaucoma, any optic disc change due to hypertension. Then check the ears for any external abnormality. Check the external auditory canal for cerumen, that is wax, or any abnormality of the tympanic membrane, because the hearing loss may be attributed to aging, but there may be reversible causes of hearing loss also, like cerumen impaction or serious otitis media or ruptured tympanic membrane. So rule these out. In addition, you need to evaluate the hearing of the case. How do you do that? Keep your face out of the patient's view, because they may guess your words by seeing your lip movements. And then, keeping your face out of the view, whisper 3 or 6 random words into each of the ears. If the case correctly repeats at least half of these words for each ear, hearing can be considered as functional for one-to-one conversation. Examine the mouth. Obviously, the missing teeth, denture, artificial denture. In addition, the mouth should be examined for signs of cancer. For example, leukoplakia, erythroplakia, any ulceration. Now we come to systemic examination of the systems. All the systems should be examined as per the standard protocol, but some additional points which are to be specially observed for in the elderly will be discussed here. Cardiovascular system, there may be sinus bradycardia, which may be normal in apparently healthy elderly. Any irregular rhythm may suggest atrial fibrillation. There may be some minor degrees of systolic murmurs, and they are frequently present because of benign aortic sclerosis. A more higher degree of murmurs are to be considered for looking for a cause. All diastolic murmurs need evaluation at all ages. Then respiratory system. While examining the respiratory system, examine the breast for any irregularities, nodules, discharge. Look if the nipples are retracted. Observe the skin over the breast for any abnormal appearance like per the orange. Some crepitations may be heard which may be just age related and may not indicate pneumonia or pulmonary edema, but still, as we discussed before, look for other symptoms and signs to rule out these disorders before saying that these rails are due to age. If you find localized rhonchi, it may point towards some localized obstruction like carcinoma. Examination of the central nervous system. While examining the cranial nerves, following observation may be normally associated with aging. The upward and downward eye movement can be slightly delayed, and the tracking of the finger may result in the jerky eye movements. The bell phenomenon may be absent in the elderly. Sense of smell may be diminished with age, but remember that any asymmetric loss of smell is always abnormal. So even if you consider these findings to be age related, you have to report it to the examiner that these are the findings, probably age related. While examining the muscle tone, which is assessed by flexing and extending the elbow and knee joints, you may see an increased muscle tone. However, if there are jerky movements, especially cogwheel rigidity, these are abnormal. Then intention tremors are frequently present among the elderly. There may be some resting tremors as well. They may be just age-related benign conditions. But unilateral tremors may indicate stroke or abnormal tremors, specific tremors like pin rolling movements is worrisome. Presence of extrapyramidal signs may be due to onset of Parkinson's disease or maybe the adverse effect of any neuroleptic medication. Muscle strength may appear weak among the elderly, especially if they are not doing any resistance training regularly. But if the weakness is symmetric and doesn't affect the day-to-day activity of the elderly, it may be just due to aging. Deep tendon reflexes also decrease normally with aging, but coordination difficulty should not be present. If it is present, it may indicate any cerebrovascular event. Diminished or absent tendon reflexes, if bilateral, may be attributed to aging process, but if the reflexes are reduced asymmetrically, then it may indicate a disorder and to be taken seriously. While checking for sensations, peripheral neuropathies may be there and the sensations may be lost. So especially important if the history is suggestive of diabetes. On the other hand, if you find any neuropathy, loss of sensation, you can go back to history and ask questions suggestive of symptoms of diabetes. The vibratory sense also decreases normally with age. While examining the gait, there may be some normal age-related findings which include slow and short steps. This may be because of the weak muscles of the limb, poor balance, or just the fear of falling. Slight changes in the walking posture also can occur with age. Examining the gastrointestinal symptom. Look for presence of hernias because the abdominal muscles are weak. Any ventral, inguinal or femoral hernia, if found, should be checked for reducibility, because if there is any restriction in the reducibility, it may require urgent action and the case may be referred to a surgeon for that. Age-related emphysematous changes in the lungs may push the liver down, and hence you may be able to feel the liver edge without any hepatomegaly. So you can judge this by percussion. judge the margin of the liver and see if there is actually any hepatomegaly or it is just pushed down, and hence you can feel the liver edge. Genitourinary system. If the facilities are present, then a male patient should be examined for benign hypertrophy of prostate or any hypertrophy of prostate. In case of female, a bimanual pelvic examination should be done, and the most common finding would be reduction in the rugae of vaginal and urethral mucosa. The ovaries should not be palpable 10 years after menopause. Examine for any degree of prolapse, including urine leakage, intermittent prolapse. If this examination is not possible, as is common in the field, the student should comment to the examiner that these the musculoskeletal system should be examined in the elderly, and this may be conducted systematically if it is conducted under the acronym GALS, which is a short for gait, arms, legs and spine. Gait. Ask the patient to walk a few steps, turn and walk back. Observe the gait for symmetry, smoothness and the ability to turn quickly. Normal age-related findings have already been discussed in the previous slides. Be ready to catch if the elderly may fall during this test. Take care of his safety. Then examining the arms. Ask the patient to put their hands behind their head and examine all the abductions and external rotation flexions which are required for this action. Especially examine the hands. Any bony overgrowths at interphalangeal joints like Hubbard nodes or Bouchard nodes may suggest osteoarthritis. Then subluxation of metacarpophalangeal joints which lead to ulnar deviation of fingers will suggest chronic rheumatoid arthritis. Similarly, swan neck deformity and Boutonniere deformity suggest chronic rheumatoid arthritis. Ask the case to squeeze your fingers for assessing the grip strength. Then you gently squeeze the metacarpophalangeal joints, looking for any tenderness which may be due to any inflammatory disease of the joint. And in addition, also look at the face for any wincing due to pain, because the patient may not say that. Then examine the legs. Ask the patient to lie down on the couch, assess full flexion of both the knees and as well as extension of both the knees. Feel for any crepitus present in knee joints. Flex the hip and knee to 90 degrees each. By holding the knee and ankle, assess the internal rotation of each hip in flexion. Perform a patellar tap to look for any knee fusion. Then inspect the feet. Especially inspect the feet for any swelling, deformity, callosities, injuries on the soles or on the feet. Common age-related findings in the feet would be hallux valgus, hammer-toe, lateral deviation of the fifth metatarsal head, etc. These toe deformities may be due to rheumatoid arthritis, osteoarthritis, or may be a result of poorly fitting shoes. Look for injuries and ulcers suggestive of neuropathy or diabetes mellitus or varicose veins. Squeeze across the metatarsophalangeal joint again to look for any tenderness suggesting inflammatory joint disease. Simultaneously observe the face of the case for any wincing due to pain. Finally, examining the spine. In standing posture of the patient, inspect the spine from behind for any scoliosis. Inspect the spine from sides for any abnormal lordosis of kyphosis, which is some lordosis and kyphosis is normally there. If any abnormal lordosis or kyphosis is present, ask the patient to tilt the head to the side so as to touch the ear with the shoulder. Assess the lateral flexion of the neck. Then ask the patient to touch their toes so that you can palpate the vertebrae for normal movements. The lumbar spine flexion can be assessed. Position 2 or 3 fingers on the lumbar vertebrae. The fingers move apart during flexion and back together during extension if the vertebral movements are normal. And then in the light of the identification family data, the physical biological environment of the case and history and examination, we make the clinico-social diagnosis of the geriatric case. The clinico-social diagnosis includes clinical diagnosis, which includes the provisional diagnosis and the functional assessment. The clinical diagnosis is the diagnosis of the medical condition in the index case, for example, type 2 diabetes mellitus. In addition to this, we should mention any age-related problem that we detected during the examination, any complication of the diabetes or any other disease that was detected or was already present. For example, problems with vision, hearing, continence, gait, balance, etc. should be included in clinical diagnosis. And functional assessment classifies the elderly as independent, needing assistance, or totally dependent. As discussed before, the postgraduate student can assess the function using scales of activities of daily life and instrumental activities of daily life, and accordingly classify the elderly as independent, needing assistance, or dependent. The social diagnosis, as discussed in clinical social case format, is an enumeration of adverse factors found in the social, physical, biological, and psychological environment of the case and the family. So the problems detected in physical, biological, and psychosocial environment are listed here. These have already been discussed in detail in the lecture and blog on clinical social case format. In addition, the elderly person's social network should be assessed, the support system should be assessed, the resources and safety within his place of stay should be assessed. And also the accessibility of the patient's environment, that is, are they able to go out, are they able to move around, should be mentioned. Safety threats should be specifically mentioned. For example, there are dark, small staircase without handrails, because these factors influence the treatment and management approach in elderly case. Then social security also finds a place in the social diagnosis, that is, which schemes and facilities for the elderly are available in the area, out of which is the elderly using them, is he or she aware of it? If they are not using it, why not? So which are the schemes which should be there and are not functioning in the area? So for this, the student is expected to know about the schemes for the elderly active in that area. Then comes, what management would you suggest? So the management of the elderly would not just include the management of the clinical condition that he or she has. It includes management of physical and mental health, the functional status, how to improve the functional status of the elderly, social adaptability, and environmental conditions. Hence, the treatment plan should include measures for protecting the health and functional status and to maximize the quality of life for the elderly that is allotted to you. In addition, any safety measures that may be required in the given scenario should also find a mention. For example, putting up a light bulb in the dark, dingy, and straight staircase so as to prevent any accident, any falling of the elderly from the stairs. Look for any treatable condition which could improve the functional status and refer to the appropriate facility for management of these medical problems. For example, treatment of arthritis. Muscle weakness can be improved with mild resistance training, especially in the legs. This in addition will improve the mobility and will reduce the risk of fall. Refer to an ophthalmologist where visual acuity is found to be low or visual impairment is interfering with daily activities or any evidence of glaucoma or cataract has been detected. Remember, an undergraduate student is not authorized to render the above advice directly to the case allotted to him. They should discuss the management with the examiner and also with their senior doctors present over there, who in turn will deliver the advice and reference to the case. Inform the elderly about the social security schemes active in that area so that the elderly can take benefit from those. suggest steps to improve the function of the elderly and safety at home and outdoors, which are feasible in the given circumstances. Attention that this lecture deals with only those sections of history and examination which are relevant to elderly cases per se. For complete history and examination of the case and the family, you must see the lecture and blog on the format for clinical social case and the lecture and blog on family health study, because these have been omitted in this lecture for avoiding repetition, but are a very important part of assessment of the given clinical social case. Otherwise, you may miss taking these extremely important assessment. A quick and brief mention of national policies and program for the elderly in India has been mentioned here. These change from time to time. The cutoff age for the elderly may also change from time to time. Hence, this is as per the latest available. There is a national policy for older persons. There is a national program for healthcare of the elderly. Then there are relevant constitutional provisions for the elderly. For example, right of parents who don't have any means to be supported by their children, who have, if they have sufficient means. Laws regarding provident fund, national old age pension scheme, maintenance and welfare of parents and senior citizens act. The Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment focuses on policies for the elderly in close collaboration with state governments so as to construct old age homes, daycare centers, mobile medical units for the elderly, etc. The International Day of Older Persons is celebrated on 1st of October each year. HelpAge India has sponsored the construction of maintenance of old age homes in India. The Ministry of Railways provides the following facilities to senior citizens. The Ministry of Health and Family Welfare provides the following facilities to senior citizens. The Ministry of Finance exempts income tax for senior citizens up to 2.5 lakh per annum for above 60 years and up to 5 lakh per annum for above 80 years. Also, there are SOPs for individual who pays the medical insurance premium for his elderly parents, and an individual is eligible for deduction of the amount which presently is 60,000 for medical treatment of a dependent elderly. The Insurance Regulatory Development Authority IRDA issues instructions on regarding health insurance of the elderly to various insurance companies. Several types of insurance schemes for the elderly people have been introduced time to time by the government, state or central governments. Best of luck for your practical examination.